Hello team, welcome to another ATP Geopolitics video with myself, Jonathan MS Pearce. This is a breaking news update concerning the war in Ukraine, and goodness me, I was hoping to get some book editing done. I was in the middle of really getting into the ancient Near East and editing all sorts on that when the news came through that indeed Serhiy Stenenko's cryptic hint this morning was indeed correct. Now, if you remember from my hits and losses videos, Serhiy Stenenko, who is involved heavily with drones in Ukraine, doing a lot of fundraising, actually there have been attempts on his life. He released a very cryptic, as I say, cryptic statement that made you think, oh, I hope this means something good is going to happen today for Ukraine. And indeed, it has. So we'll get onto that. Before we do, of course, please remember to like, subscribe, and share if you haven't already done so. Thank you very much to those who have. Keep yourselves in the loop as to what is going on in Ukraine, such as with today's events. And it is just pretty astonishing what has happened. Let's look at what Stenenko initially said. Here it is on your screen. Let me just get into my usual position there. So we have Stenenko saying this morning, we expect very bad underwater news for the Russians in the Black Sea. That led me to think, oh, something has happened with regard to a submarine or an underwater kamikaze drone hitting maybe a ship or indeed a submarine. And it was both of those things by the sounds of it. So just as a bit of a preface here, this is something that I have been expected since really the beginning of the war. As soon as we started hearing about unmanned surface drones, you were thinking, if you were thinking at all about this, that Ukraine would surely be developing torpedo drones or similar that you could send to, at the time it would have been Sevastopol, sit outside the port, wait for a ship to come out of the port and hit the ship as it comes out of the port, or indeed go into the port and hit the ships there. Well, that is what has happened. So let's look at this video. This is a 54-second video that is doing the rounds. It's the first combat use of an underwater kamikaze drone. So this is a military first. Russian Kilo-class submarine has been disabled in Novorossiysk. I'm not sure that we know exactly what has happened to it other than, well, we'll come on to that in a second. The security service of Ukraine has carried out a special operation in the port of Novorossiysk, marking the first ever combat use of an underwater kamikaze drone. I'm not sure what the drone looks like, whether it's a kind of torpedo or what. I'm sure we will find out in due course. This is the video. I haven't included the sound because it is just sort of booming music as you typically expect from these. But look at all of these naval vessels there. Look at all these ships. They could have gone for any of these, and my goodness, they are all at risk. And you see the explosion there. That is, by all accounts, where the submarine was. And we zoom in a little bit there. And that is a sizable explosion, right? That is no small explosion. That is going to cause trouble to whatever it hits. Now, I often think about these weapons that when you develop them, you want to use them quite a bit. As in, you want to have quite a number of them rather than just one, because if you have just one and use it, then the Russians go, oh my goodness, that's absolutely terrible. I'm going to just leave that cycling through. The Russians will think that's absolutely terrible. Let's do something about that. And they adapt to that weapon, right? They build up defenses, they put nets across straight away, they do whatever. What you want is you want to have like 10 of those to be able to be used straight away. You don't want to just use one and then wait another 6 weeks before you can manufacture another. You want a bunch of those, because look at all of those vessels there. I didn't realize quite how many naval vessels were moored in this area of Novorossiysk. And that is phenomenal. Just imagine having 10 of those drones smack into those vessels. My goodness, that would be a good day at the office for the Ukrainians. So this is in Novorossiysk. If you don't know where Novorossiysk is, I will let you know. Sorry, I'm assuming that you do. We'll put it on. We'll get Andrew Perpetua's map up and take you to there. So here is Ukraine. We have the Sea of Azov. We have Crimea here. And Sevastopol was where the Black Sea Fleet was based. It's a very decent, deep water, large port with a lot of dry docks, a lot of protection as well. You can put booms across there. So this was a very good port. This is the jewel, really, of the Black Sea. And this arguably is why Russia has invaded Ukraine. I've long said that a port in the Black Sea gives them access to the Bosphorus Straits, to the Mediterranean, and then through the Suez Canal to the Indian Ocean, or out of the Mediterranean in the Atlantic. They do not have a warm water deep sea port. The Russians, they have Arctic ports that freeze over during the winter, or if the port itself doesn't freeze over, then just outside the port freezes over. They have always been desperate to have a deep sea warm water port. That's the only reason they've been, well, one of the main reasons they've been involved in Syria is because they get access to Tartus, which is a port off the Syrian coast there. That is why they've been involved in Syria. That gives them access to the Mediterranean in the event that they didn't have Crimea. So in 2014, they annexed Crimea. They really desperately wanted this deep sea warm water port. Okay. However, the Ukrainians then hammered this with drones, and then aerial drones, and then unmanned surface vehicles, to the point where it was untenable for them to keep the Black Sea Fleet there. And they moved the Black Sea Fleet over to this port of Novorossiysk. Now, Novorossiysk is a rubbish port compared to Sevastopol. It is effectively tiny, and it has hardly any sort of berths, comparatively speaking, and dry docks and whatnot. And also, it is not deep enough, or doesn't have enough, mooring inside the port, to the point where a lot of the ships have to be moored out here, which makes them more vulnerable. It is not ideal, but this is where they have had to set up the Black Sea Fleet. And I presume what you were looking at is in this area here, possibly, actually. Not 100% sure. I might have to look at that. It's going to be here. I thought this was where they had, no, that's the oil area. So actually it might be here, might well be here. But anyway, that's Novorossiysk, and that's where we see this taking place. I'm just going to go back to Special Kherson Cat. There's a bit more information here. So during the operation, SPU operated subsea baby underwater drones struck a Russian Navy Project 636.3 submarine, which is called the Varshavianka class. It's a NATO designation, a Kilo class. The explosion caused critical damage, effectively disabling the vessel. I don't know how sure we are of this, what the provenance of these claims is, but I'm fairly sure that submarine ain't going to be going anywhere soon. Submarine was equipped with 4 Caliber cruise missile launchers, so this will help Ukraine going forwards with having fewer cruise missiles sent at Ukraine. Launched by Russia for strikes against Ukrainian territory. The operation was conducted jointly by the SPU's 13th Main Directorate of the Military Counterintelligence and Ukrainian Navy. Varshavianka class submarine is estimated to cost around $400 million. Due to international sanctions, building a comparable submarine today could cost up to $500 million. And this class is also known as a black hole because of the low acoustic signature and reduced sonar visibility. Submarine has been stationed in Novorossiysk after earlier Sea Baby surface drone operations forced the Russian naval assets to leave Sevastopol Bay and temporarily occupy Crimea, as mentioned. So it's an improved Kilo-class diesel-electric submarine docked in Novorossiysk, was hit near the engine room in today's strike, is the claim from Maria Drutska. Russian defense did not react before the strike. Expect more soon. That's what I would definitely hope. Just having one of these, and then, I mean, that's obviously brilliant, better than not happening at all, isn't it? Goodness me. So this sort of amazing thing happens, and I want more. But actually, I want Ukraine to be able to take advantage of this as much as possible. And I just hope they have more of these to use. Ukrainian, so what else? Anything? Yeah, just worth 400 million again, the claim there. So nothing, no new information there. Right. We have had some reactions from Russians already. Here is one. It appears that the BEK, so that is their unmanned surface vehicle acronym, hit near the stern of the Varshavianka, where the propeller, vertical and aft horizontal rudders, as well as the propeller, are located. If this is the case, then even taking into account extreme luck and the absence of a direct hit on the submarine itself, which might well have happened, right? These very important and vulnerable mechanisms could have suffered serious damage, which could potentially put the caliber submarine out of action for a long time. The Black Sea Fleet is maintaining its level, as always. Even the escape to Novorossiysk didn't help. And then a slightly more dooming, oops, no, that's not what I wanted, although that's horrific. I don't have it. There's another. In fact, if I go to here, it is. Yeah, another sort of comment here from a Russian commenter, drone developer, they're called, I think, says, I want to drink. I don't have the strength to comment on this expletive anymore. And I think that sums it up. I won't read that out to you, but that sums up how this Russian is feeling, and probably how many Russians are as well. Okay, now we have an infographic from H.I. Sutton. Actually, it looks like, yeah, this has come from him. It's one of his ones. Yeah, Naval News. In the latest satellite images, the submarine was positioned so that the impact most likely affected the stern of the submarine, according to Dnipro OSINT. That is the actually, let's have a look at where that. I'm wondering whether you're looking at this. So if we go back to the video, I wonder if you're right. Let's have a look again at the video. Sorry, I'm reacting quite live here. So you've got, so I think that is the, no, that is the outer one. Okay. Yeah, so you've got an L shape there, and it's along that part, which is, I presume, just there. And yeah, you can see the naval ships here. So these are all the naval ships you can see right in front of you. And I would have thought that unless, yeah, I think you might be looking over to here, somewhere, I think akin to that. Although, yes. So, well, it has this submarine. Okay. Right. So it looks like from this video, the submarine therefore could be going up in this direction rather than in this direction. So if we look, yeah. So, oh, there's a submarine, right? Okay, I had this wrong initially. So that looks like that's a submarine there, if you can see, and then it's aft is just here, and that's where the explosion happens, right? So that's exactly the case. So if we go back to the map, the submarine looks like it was actually either along there, yeah, along there, and it was hit in the very corner where the bow is pointing in this direction and the stern is back here. So then we go back to the H.I. Sutton imagery. So this is where the explosion took place, which is the stern is there and the bow is over there. And yeah, so there you go. It's going to affect its weakest area. I mean, you see the USVs, the unmanned surface vehicles, hit the tankers where they've hit them in the Black Sea recently. They're all attacking the stern, where you've got, you've got a double hull, double skinned hull. It's going to be quite difficult to explode through that. Whereas if you hit the rudder and the propellers, you're possibly going to stop it from being able to steer and being able to drive itself. So that's probably the weakest area to hit it, I would have thought. Now, remember, there was a submarine hit previously. We have one submarine on the loss list, on the General Staff loss list, and that was one that was in the dry docks in Sevastopol that was hit by Storm Shadow missiles, I believe. Earlier in the war, famously took a hit, took one for the team there. So that is what has happened today, and it is really good to see that the claims were indeed, or the hint was indeed followed through by the Ukrainians, and we have good news. I'm just trying to see if there's any other information coming out at the moment. No, I mean, good news elsewhere, like Astrakhan, the natural gas reserve has been hit. One of the key enterprises in Russia's oil and gas industry. The plant in particular produces 3.5 million tons of sulfur. That's what we heard this morning, but there's quite a bit of imagery coming out. In fact, I just want to show you one more thing in this live, for some imagery from the I think it's from Astrakhan, or it might have been from Luch thermal power plant, actually. Yeah, this is it. It's Luch thermal power plant. This was hit in Belgrade last night. And just, yeah, let's get back to seeing that. There you go. That's in a spot of bother as well. So that's a good bit of news to share with you. But yeah, this really is tremendous news for the Ukrainians. These submarines, as I said, fire caliber cruise missiles. It is also an immense embarrassment for the Russians. They will hurt because of this and expect massive revenge, right? Russians are nothing if not retributive, so they will seek retribution. They will seek to punish the Ukrainians, and I imagine somewhere like Odessa is going to take one hell of a beating. But I think there is no coincidence that this has happened on the same day that the negotiations between the Americans and the Ukrainians has wrapped up in Berlin. I think the Ukrainians have refused to move on conceding territory, which is brilliant. And then they hit a submarine and hopefully sink it, which will certainly disable it, which will send a message to the Russians, but also the Americans to say, do you know what? We do have cards. Absolutely incredible footage there. And I just really, really, really hope that there is more of that to come, that they haven't just wasted, well, not wasted, sorry, not at all. They haven't wasted that at all, but they haven't wasted the opportunity that, you know, they don't give the Russians chance to shore up their defenses and stop any further kamikaze drones from getting in the port. But I also do wonder, in fact, going back to that, let's go back to that image there. I do also wonder why the Ukrainians haven't hit these ships with all the drones that they can, because we've seen Novorossiysk get hit previously. We've actually seen Tuapse get hit too. But Novorossiysk, we have seen some success there in terms of strikes. I'd be really throwing like 50, 100 drones at Novorossiysk and flamingos as soon as I could. I mean, look at these vessels. They just appear to be ripe for the picking. So there must be a reason why they haven't done so, and I assume that's going to be air defenses. But I mean, this is Novorossiysk, right? So if they've hit other areas of Novorossiysk and you know, various elements of the oil, I think, infrastructure around there, hydrocarbons infrastructure around there, I would assume that air defenses are covering all of that. I don't know. I just would have thought surely those ships are vulnerable. But yeah, the Ukrainians know what they're doing, right? It's not for me, up to me to decide what they should be striking. But nonetheless, that is excellent news, and more of that, please. Thank you very much for Kevin Forst for hanging out and helping out the channel there. I really appreciate that. And also Ole Nilsson, thank you very much, matey. So I wanted to get this to you because I think this is a supremely important strike, and it's something that we've been waiting for. I've been waiting for submarine drones to be active for years now. It was the obvious next step, and we had heard that the British, I think, have been involved in helping out because of the kind of naval heritage in the UK. We have pretty good naval innovation and R&D and whatnot, and there were theories or rumors, or it's reality really, that we've been helping a lot with the unmanned surface vehicles as well. So I would assume the British have probably been involved in, maybe Norwegians too, and maybe the Americans. Who knows? But in helping the Ukrainians out with these, we have seen previous iterations of torpedo drones shown. There was one that I showed previously that looked sort of fairly large, this big black sort of torpedo thing. And we were sort of fingers crossed that they'd be using something soon, but it's taken quite a long time. What you want to do is you want to make sure you get this right. So you'll be doing lots of tests. The testing is going to be quite difficult to do. So I don't know whether they test things like this in, off the coast of Britain, or I know I live near Portsmouth, and there are these old torpedo testing areas of part of the port of Portsmouth. I don't know if they still use them to test, but I assume they do. Near the old Greyhound racing track, as it was. But yeah, so I assume they'd be testing that out of Ukraine, where they can do that away from the reconnaissance of the Russians, and also in safety. But then, of course, that means you're developing things out there. You've got to bring it back here. You got to get it working in Ukraine, and then you've got to use it, but you've got to make sure it works. What you don't want to do is send a submarine drone and then it cocks up, and then the Russians go, "Oh, you got submarine drones, right? We're going to put nets up and everything." But I expect there to be all sorts of reactions to this, both political and practical, in Novorossiysk. And as soon as the USVs came online, the unmanned surface vehicles, you started seeing these booms get put across the ports of both Novorossiysk and Sevastopol first, and they were pretty effective. They make it much more difficult for the USVs to get into the port and cause havoc. I've got a comment here from Rob Cook. Hey mate, my friend is a nuke sub engineer. I asked him about where Ukraine hit. Quote, I guess if you're going to try and destroy a submarine, hitting the rudder and propulsor is the best spot. So there you go. Exactly what we were saying. Thanks, Rob. That was good. Double explosion, says John. The sub is history. Let's go and have a look at that again, shall we? Let's just see if there. I have been unable to look at your comments, so sorry if you've had some great comments thrown in there. It's just quite difficult as I'm trying to react to everything that's going on. I just want to have a look at the explosion again, see if there is a double explosion at all. Let's just one more time, one more for the road. So again, you've got the submarine actually going sort of left to right, sort of diagonally upwards here, and you've got an explosion there. Yeah, I'm not sure there is a double explosion. Yeah, so yeah, that's there's a pretty sizable explosion. I mean, stuff's getting damaged there, isn't it? And I don't know, it sort of cuts there. I don't know if that is that a cut. Let's go back. Yeah, it cuts a little bit, but I don't know that it shows anything. In fact, let's look at this boat here to see what the cut is. Yeah, the cut is just like a second. I don't know why, but it cuts. You see that boat shift as it's moving just down here. Oh, it's by my stupid face. Let's get that out of the way. So if you look at this boat in this area, there is a cut here for some reason. The boat shifts there, it just shifts there, and then you miss a tiny bit of explosion. I don't know why that is, but I don't think that's particularly missing anything or showing anything, intimating anything else has happened. So that's the submarine. It's been hit probably in the stern. It's probably not going to be operational, and the Russians are going to be coming out and squinting about this, no doubt. But watch out for strikes on Odessa. That's going to be, I think, a likely place that the Russians will seek some kind of revenge. And if there's anything else that comes out that's significant about this throughout the day, I'll let you know. But what I do just really hope is that they have more of these up their sleeves, and that they can throw some more of these into that port and take out some more of those vessels. But anyway, there you go. It's it's a good news day for the Ukrainians there. So Slava Ukraini indeed. Thank you very much to Kevin and Ole Nielsen. Again, you guys are absolutely great. I'm going to leave it at there, get back on with what I was trying to do. But that was well worth letting you know about. So fingers crossed, more to come. And thank you to Serhiy Stanenko for giving that hint this morning that made me, I was checking to see if anything came out, and then got into my editing, and then I had to be contacted by Pierre, who was like, oh, looks like it's happened. It is a submarine. Yes. So I genuinely feel pretty good. It does put a smile on my face. So really puts one up the Russians, I would say. Take care, everybody. Appreciate your support. Toodle pips.